That brings us to new business, and item 7A is payment of bills, final budget adjustments for 2011-2012 school year, closing the books for the 2011-2012 school year, and redesignating the 2011-2012 ending fund balances. Mr. Gorder,
Okay.
take it away.
So not only are we starting a new year, we're ending a new year. The auditors were here. It seems like 100 years ago, but it was actually last week. They got started on Monday and were through on Wednesday. So July 1st, needless to say, and actually May and June are just very, very busy months in the business office. So you've already approved the expenditures for June. The bill payment reports obviously were into the consent agenda. So everything that you're seeing here is wrapped up. All those expenditures for June are wrapped up in here as of June 30th. When you take a look at the revenues, total revenues for last year were $30,968,275 as compared to expenses of $30,923,687. So what does that mean? Our beginning fund balance at the start of the year was about $4,284,434. I'm trying to take shortcuts, but we're going to have to look at that. And you can see within this $4.2 million, we have about $4,034,000 in the unassigned fund balance that we can use. It's not a check, because keep in mind, fund balance is just the amount of money we have on one day and time in the year. That's June 30th when the auditors write that number down. The next day, then, those numbers change. And actually, for that number to happen, we'd have to lock up shop and sell all of our assets, and that's what we'd have left. There is some cash there, but we do have about equity of about $4.2 million. Of that, there's about $4 million that if we needed to, technically, we probably could use that and spend that. But we still short-term borrow, so in order not to short-term borrow, we would have to increase our unassigned fund balance considerably in order to eliminate that, because we do not have end of November and in June the necessary funds to meet our expenses. We have to short-term borrow. If we had more in fund balance, we can pay for that, but to get there, we would need probably $6 to $8 million in our fund balance. There's approximately $249,834 that's restricted in the fund balance. We talked at length about the retirement changes in February and March, and maybe it was April too. And part of that discussion, we talked about any new hires after the 08-07 during or after the 08-07 school year, we're getting about $1,500 put into an account for them for their first 5 years in employment. Then after that 5th year, those dollars would be transferred to a 403B account of their choosing. So in the restricted fund balance, we have that $249,834. So that number probably is going to stay pretty consistent right around here. It might fluctuate a little bit up and down because we got 5 years in. So a new group's going in, and then an old group is coming out of that. So that number should stay right around in those boundaries. So what effect did the revenues in excess of the expenditures have? In the end, the net effect is our fund balance increased by $44,588. Our restricted fund balance went down $18,004, and our unassigned fund balance went up $63,393. So our total ending fund balance is about $4,329,022. Any questions?
How much do we typically short-term, how much do we usually have to typically short-term borrow?
About $4 million. Okay, but keep in mind, don't make the correlation, because we don't have $4 million in the account on that day, otherwise we would have to short-term borrow. So we need to borrow $4 million in June in order to really get to zero. And part of that is because of the timing of the state aid. They delayed the state aid payments into August from the previous year, so that has a little bit to do with that. So if not, that's a quick summary of our Revenues and expenditures, again, they're unaudited, but they've been through and we got these numbers. They are subject to change, but probably should change, and the changes to the fund balances. Non-expendable gifts, Fund 21. Again, this is typically grants and gifts in here. A change of about $2,405 from the beginning to the ending fund balance, and you can see the expenditures and revenues. Again, revenues in excess of expenditures of like $2,405. That can go up or down. It just depends on the type of year that we're having. The donations we're getting. Fund 27 is special education. In Fund 27, revenues have to equal expenditures. When we do that fund transfer from Fund 10 to 27, that zeroes out. There is no beginning or ending fund balance in Fund 27. So pretty easy. Fund 29 is the Native American Fund. And we received revenues of $24,077 and expenditures of $24,077. So we got a beginning fund balance of 32 cents and ending fund balance of 32 cents. So we will take care of that probably next year. We look at debt service. Debt service, right now revenues are slightly less than our expenditures. We do have a beginning fund balance of $419,000. So the difference was we actually reduced our fund balance by $17,000 and left us with about $401,589. The reason for this is that we levy on the calendar year and expend on the fiscal year, and those don't line up. In past years, obviously, to get a fund balance, we were levying more on the calendar year than we were spending on the fiscal year. That relationship switched about 3 or 4 years ago, so we're actually seeing a negative. By the time these loans are due, we will have plenty of cash to probably reduce that last payment if we wanted to. Capital Projects Fund 45 is our construction budget. This is only used if we go to referendum and we're doing a big project where we have money sitting out there. There's $23.56. This is interest. We transferred money out of there, but didn't account for the interest, so we need to transfer that out. Fund 50 is food service. Revenues were $1,609,871. Expenditures $1,577,561 for an increase in the fund balance of $32,309. Fund 72 are our trust for our scholarships. Actually, our scholarships increased about $31,847. Employee Trust Fund 73. When we take a look at this, we have total revenues were spent at $1,469,487. Or those were the revenues. Expenditures were $1,393,973. Let me explain a little bit what the Employee Trust Fund is. This actually got put into place about 5 or 6 years ago. In the past, we would just go about our business and pay for our retirement or the post-employment benefit. If you're a retired teacher, we would just pay for that. We'd get state aid on it based on what we spent. And then we'd get our state aid that we just talked about. We'd get that going away. We're happy. Some districts decided to say, hey, wait a minute, some of those costs are for teachers who used to teach in special education. The state agreed with that and said, yeah, you should be getting aided on that also from Fund 27. So they created this Employee Trust Fund. So what you have to do is break down all your costs for teacher retirement payout. Now this isn't what we spent. We actually spent about $1 million last year. It's slightly inflated because when you look at that OPEB study, they use terms like implicit rate subsidy, meaning that a retired teacher costs more to insure than I do just based on their age and their usage. That's pretty common in the insurance industry. That doesn't mean the premium is anymore, but the actual value of that premium is more than what the younger staff will use. And that kind of, when you look at trending, that trends from the older employees actually not the younger employees. So in order to get aided on that, we have to put all retirement costs on there along with the implicit rate subsidy. And then they ask us, well, if you're going to get aided on it, you need to put some money away for the future to pay for these benefits. So the state says we want 5% to stay in that trust fund. And that's why you're seeing the increase of about $75,514 in this fund. So our ending fund balance is $244,495 that we can use in the future for OPEB benefits. That takes us through our treasurer's report for the 2011-2012 year. This is one of three worksheets or embedded sheets that we'll take a look at. Any questions of where we're at in this year? Treasurer's report. If not, we will take a look at ending fund balances. You will also designate these ending fund balances, and this is just really a different way to look at what I just said. All these numbers should be the same as what are on the treasurer's report. So when we look at your beginning ending fund balances and the changes in these fund balances, you should be able to see that very clearly in this worksheet right here. I won't go over each one of those and summarize those for you. And finally, the last document that I have for you tonight to take a look at is the Tacoma area school year budget adjustments. And this is done every year. Actually, we amend the budget 3 times during the school year. You approve a budget at the annual meeting. Then when we come back and set the levy in October, we amend the budget. And then this year we amended the budget in April. And then we also amend the budget at the end of the year. Why, you might ask, why do you amend the budget so much? Well, number one, when we start to make significant changes to any one of these functions that you're seeing up here, and these are function codes, the state requires us that we report them not only to the board, but also to the DPI, the public, excuse me. So this is just an accountability piece, being transparent of what you're doing with the budgets. So as we look at the approved budget, this is what was approved in April as compared to the adjusted budgets, which are the actual ending balances in each of these functions or accounts for the 2011-12 school year. So we had a variance of about $184,538, with most of that variance coming in this interfund operating transfer. Our expenses were less than we anticipated. Typically, a lot of that is coming from your insurance savings that we had for those 4 pay periods there. You're going to see some big numbers like this, $1,026,430. If you remember, you take a look at those numbers on the previous sheet where the auditor action, the state makes us make these expenditures in Fund 73. More down. Those are where those numbers are coming from. We have no way to anticipate or estimate what those numbers will be, whether that's at the annual meeting, when we set the levy in October, or in April. So we just kind of roll with it. But that's where those numbers are coming from. It's that in one day, out one day. And then they're properly accounted for in those functions. And then again, you can see the changes in each of the changes in revenues versus the expenditures. And then Fund 27 expenses. And you can see that they are balanced, revenues and expenditures. Fund 30 expenses. Those are where the changes in the budgets occurred that were significant enough to be voted. Any questions? Budget adjustments? Or fund balance designations? Or the treasurer's report?
Mr. Gritter, you mentioned that the approved budget numbers were the ones that we had made as adjustments in April.
Yes.
Is that correct? Yeah, so those weren't the ones originally in October even?
No,
Those
or
were-
the annual meeting. These were the budget
Readjusted.
adjustments that were approved at the April regular board meeting.
So you do a lot of adjusting.
Yeah, it's a good thing to do because as we're looking at budget status, and we do this January, February, March, April, May, and into June. So we have a good idea where we need to adjust the budget. And in some ways, I just wish we could get rid of this 173 because it kind of tears up all that work and really throws it off. So, again, it was very pleased with the audit. I think you'll be pleased when you get the audit report. That won't be available until November, December. Questions?
In both, if you go from all the way to the initial budget to the end, both revenue and expenses ended up lower?
I don't know the answer.
Oh, okay.
I can look real quick, though.
No, that's all right. I guess it's not significant.
You would be able to see that very clearly if you look at your adopted budget in your,
Right.
what you're looking at tonight. That is the October budget that was set last year. If you look at your fund grand total sheet, and if you would compare that to the final adjusted budget, that would tell you the difference. I just don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I guess once, as you get through the year and things change, the earlier numbers have no particular significance.
That's a good question. What things would change? I think we talk about these a lot. Very warm winter. So we save, significant dollars in our utilities. It looked like we would be saving some money on transportation, but then, I don't know, what was January, February, we started to see the spike, but then we started to see a decrease a little bit at the end of the year. So, I think we're over a little bit there. Our health insurance, there were some significant savings in the health insurance. You had about 4 payrolls where we have to pay our bills a month in advance to the insurance company, so we actually saw some savings this year that we had to account for. And then severance pay. We had a lot of retirees this year, but not as many as we estimated back at this time last year. So, and we, through the contract or even the handbook now, we really don't know those numbers until February, and it was kind of up in the air a little bit past February this year. So, a lot of guesses. So, and when you're dealing with large numbers, you're going to have variances.
Okay, thanks. Any other questions? I'd look for a motion then, and there is suggested language for purposes of properly approving what needs to be approved, if someone would like to do that.
I'll make a motion then to close the books, approve the final budget adjustments, and to designate fund balances as itemized in the document entitled 2011-12, ending fund balance that is dated June 30th, 2012, for our 2011-12 school year.
The only thing I just remind as far as the designation of the fund balances, those are unaudited figures and they may vary slightly.
Is there a second?
Second.
Ryan?
Yep.
Okay. We have a motion and a second then to close the books, approve the final budget adjustments, and to designate fund balances as itemized in the document entitled 2011-12, ending fund balance dated June 30th, 2012, for the 2011-12 school year. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? So those, that is approved. Thanks for all the information, Greg.
Welcome. Thank you.
I greatly appreciate his efforts in this area. I mean, you really, I think, have to work with the numbers on a daily basis to get the type of knowledge that Greg has on the school budget. It's very complicated, but he does an exceptional job.
A lot of support within the district office. We have some very bright people working in there that keep my head screwed on straight. So that's team effort.
And you do a great job in giving us packaging information for us to look at and not just trying to tell us generally what's going on. There's a lot of transparency. We're able to get any numbers that we want, so that is important and appreciated. Thank you.
Thank you.